Hi, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how to field strip for cleaning the IWI X95. And then I'll do a full Monty, and as usual, due to the length of the video, I'm going to do the bolt assembly and the sear assembly at a different time. So let's start. It came in a canvas bag, including one magazine and one cleaning kit. And there it is. To field strip, check there's nothing in the chamber, and you don't need a tool to push this cross pin near the butt plate from the right to the left. You can basically just use your fingers, and it's captive so it won't fall out. And then the butt plate pivots down and you can pull out the bolt assembly. And then there's two more pins at the lower of the receiver. This time you need to use a tool or a tip of a bullet. Again, you push from the right to the left these two pins. And again, they're captive, so you don't try to push them all the way out. And then there's a flap here, which is the BHO. You pull this flap down and then tilt the receiver downwards, and the sear assembly should come out. Okay, so this is how this is basically your field stripping. And the tool kit does include cleaning rods, and they're made out of steel, so they're not particularly to my liking. You assemble them, the cleaning rods, together. I prefer to use brass or aluminum, so would not be using those. And you attach them to this receiver brush, and then you clean the receiver with this brush. Also comes in a oil bottle and a sight tool, or basically a flathead screwdriver. A general cleaning brush, oil brush, and two brass brushes. This is for the bore, and this is for the chamber and gas tube. Now, they always, according to the book, the manual, they recommend when cleaning the bore, start at the chamber and always end up at the muzzle, not to do it the other way around, which is more convenient, but this is what they recommend. So therefore, your brush has to be quite long to go all the way down and come all the way back, compared to doing from the muzzle. Now, this is what you're going to use the brush for. You're just going to basically clean the sear assembly. You can just clean it with the brush, like that. And same goes for the bolt assembly. Just clean off the dust and brush out the sand, and then oil it. When it comes to oiling, they recommend that you put dabs of oil on these tracks, two here and two over here. They also recommend you put oil right about here. And since you're not going to disassemble this, just drop an oil through this hole, and that'll get to the firing pin. And that's basically about it. That's your field strip for cleaning. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to disassemble this further, except for the bolt assembly and the sear. That will be done at a different time. Okay, I'm back. There's one thing I forgot to mention to you, that when you're field stripping, always have your hammer back. Okay, the first thing I do beyond field stripping is to remove the grip. And before I do that, I want to show you what's under this grip cover, and use a small Allen wrench, and you unscrew this, and that screw comes off, and then slide the cover to the right. And that's what it looks like. And you have enough space for a AAA battery and maybe a couple of coin battery for your red dot. Make sure that they're in a plastic bag and they're well insulated. So make sure you do that. And then use a large Phillips screwdriver and get to the bottom of the grip and unscrew this grip. Okay, the reason why you need to remove that first is that you can't remove the complete handguard without doing that. Okay, next, remove all these QD swivel. You got two of them, one in front, one in the back. Okay, and then there is these rail guards in the handguard. You just press the waffle shape pattern. Just press it and then slide it forward. Yeah, pretty simple, like that. And underneath are your rails. And same thing here. Just press that and move it forward. And they would slide out. Same thing for the bottom. Press the waffle shape and slide it forward. To remove the rest of the handguard, there is a screw on this side. You need to use an Allen wrench and undo that screw. That's what it looks like. And then it should slide forward. The whole handguard assembly should come out. This is what it looks like. And you next remove the cocking handle, and to do that you pull it back and turn the cocking handle stop piece and just slide the cocking handle out like that. Okay, put that aside. After that, you have to unscrew these two bolts, and let's see which one is it. One of these, yes, use one of these, and okay, it has a locking washer with it, so be careful not to lose that. Okay, now there is a cotter pin right here, and basically use something that will hook onto this pin and push it up. Let's put that aside, and then you have to turn this plastic piece and turn it counterclockwise and unscrew it. You have to somehow stop it from turning, because I can sense that it's turning, and you'll have to figure out a way to stop that thing from turning. So let's do it this way. Ah, it is working. Okay. And then this piece comes out, and you can see the hole for the pin. Right. And then on the right side, this steel piece also comes out. Put that over here, and at this point the whole top rail, including the sights, comes up. Right? Okay, I'm back. Now before you remove the barrel, you need to make yourself a tool or buy yourself a tool. I made mine out of a 3/8 of an inch Allen wrench, and it's very crude. Just basically use a hand grinder, or even a Dremel would work, or a drum sander, anything. Just basically make a tool that will fit inside here. Okay, as you can see, one side is a 0 and the other side is an L. This side is a 0, this side is an L. L stands for lock, so you need to, you see the white ink that's there? It's on the lock side. You need to turn that towards the open area. Okay, so to do that, you just can't stick this in and turn it, because you basically need another pair of hands, because there is a locking device on the left side, and you need to push that like that. Here, I'll show you. Here's the locking device right here, and there's a hole. You basically have to push that hole and make sure this thing stays up when you are turning this locking, I guess it's a locking barrel, locking lug. And this is, I got my finger in there, I'm holding it from closing, and now I'm gonna turn up to the other side. Okay, so here we go. Now make sure that the charging handle is out. And here I'm gonna hold it against my chest, and now I'm turning, and it's now slowly turning like that. Now once I get to this point where the locking piece is on top and not in that recess, I can just let it go. Okay, so there it is. Now I can just, let me close these, and now I can just use this wrench. Well, it is now a wrench, but it was an Allen wrench before, and now I just keep turning this. Actually, let me hold it like this, and it will easily turn to the open position like that. Okay, so actually I went too far to this position. Like that. Now you should be able to pull this barrel and the gas system forward, and it's just very simple. It just moves forward, and just hold it back, and it should come out. If it doesn't come out, hammer this piece a little further in, and it should come out. This is your gas system right here. This is your barrel. This, do I like the system? I do not particularly like this system, simply because I do not like this barrel lug, because it slides. It slides, and as you can see, when it slid a little to the left, the barrel wouldn't come out. And I had situations where the whole entire lug, barrel lock lug, slipped in, and it was actually a pain to put it back in position. Okay, the next thing I do is basically remove the gas tube. This is your gas tube, and it slides forward. And be careful that, okay, now again, it's not, it might be, I went too far. I'm going to have to push this in a bit and make sure it slides forward. It's not sliding forward. Oh, there it is. It came out. Okay, there is a basically it's dust shield of some sort for the charging handle. The charging handle goes into this right here. Okay, and when you change the position of the charging handle, then you will put that on the other side like that. Okay, and this is your gas tube, and it just comes forward. Okay, that meaning it's a little tricky, and here it is. Okay, I'm back. Now off camera I removed a few more pieces. Now I normally do not reassemble after disassembling, simply because it's just the reverse, but because this involved the barrel, I decided to do a complete reassembly. Why don't we start off with the butt plate? For the back, it has these this screw. Just simply put it in. Doesn't matter which way. Okay. Next thing is the BHO. Now, there's grooves for these two sides, and as if you can imagine that the BHO, the magazine would push up against this, and then the bolt would be stopped right about here. And when it does that, this thing would pivot down, right? And that signifying that the BHO is activated. And then of course when you push this up, this will come down and the bolt will go forward. Now to put this in, you have to make sure you're holding it like straight, pass those two slots I mentioned, okay, and then move it forward towards the muzzle area and then pull it down, and then that's it. And that's how you put that in. Now I won't put the Sears assembly yet. Now the next thing I'm going to show you is these pieces for the port. Now the reason why I disassemble them is to show you how to change them, or if you change from a right hand shooter to a left hand shooter, you wouldn't then change these. And just I took them out just so you would see what required to do it. Now I'm putting this back as a right hand shooter. You put this piece back in like this, like that. Okay, make sure it's nice and flat, and then you get one. Then you take this piece. Okay, as you can see, there's two grooves on either side, and they actually go in between this. Okay, so that basically what holds it in is you have to kind of bend this a bit, okay, and then you just slide it in forward to the muzzle, okay, like that, and just basically, it didn't go in. Let me do that again. Yeah, make sure it's nice and flat, like that, and then slide it in like that. And now this is in. Now these pieces, they are difficult to remove because these two screws are Loctite, and so I didn't bother removing that. Okay, now if I flip it to the other side, the ejection port has this port, I guess the exterior or around like a ring type, and it would go in like this. The opening would be towards the back, and this would be on the inside, and you would slide it in like this. Okay. Again, you would slide it in from here, push it all the way forward, and then work your way in like that. Like that. Okay, and then what happens is that this is a locking piece. You see this little piece? It goes into the opening right here, right there, and basically it stops them. It uses the case deflector also as a locking piece for this piece for the ejection port, and then you just tighten this up. It's that simple. So yeah, this is for switching from the right hand shooter to the left hand shooter. Okay, now in the case of the selector switches, same thing. This would be on the right side, left side, and then if you want to switch it to the right side, you would just basically swap them. Okay, the manual says to turn this into a firing position before you could remove these or put them back in, and I find that doesn't quite work. It needs to be between the F and the S. So if you could turn it right in that position, it will work best. Now obviously it's easier to put on than take off, but it's just basically the reverse. But here I'm going to put this piece back on. You just basically depress this pin that's right here, this retaining pin right there. Depress that like that, and then slide it up. Nope, that didn't work. It's a little tricky putting this thing back in, but like that. Now to remove it, you have to use a punch, a skinny punch, or and press in the center, and then push it out downwards. Okay, so that's in. Now I'm gonna need to turn this back into a 45 degrees angle again. Otherwise, like I said, it will not go in if it doesn't. The reason why is because on these two stops, it makes it a little difficult. Obviously, it's a lot easier to slide it in than take it off. But you press like this. Make sure that you're pressing the pin down and slide this thing in like that. Okay, so like that. And make sure that the pin is back out. Okay, so that's done. Now obviously if you're a right-hand shooter, you would have the actual selector switch on the left side, and if you're a left-hand shooter, you would switch that to the right side. Okay, so now let's begin with the assembly. Now to put the barrel in, you have to put this locking lug in. And obviously it goes from the left side to the right side. Like this, and you make sure that this piece is pointing up, because this piece needs to point to the O. Now previously I inadvertently said that was a 0, but it's an O. O stands for open. So you would slide this in. Yeah, it's a little tricky, so you gotta wiggle it in. Okay, it was a little struggle to get that in, but I finally did get it in. Just tap it in with the back of a screwdriver. Now make sure that is in the middle. In other words, if it's about an eighth from the outer plastic receiver, then it should be eighth on the other side. And of course, it looks a lot deeper here, so I need to push this down a little bit further. And I'm just gonna tap this a bit more, like that. Yeah, which looks like about an eighth here, and about an eighth there, maybe a little bit more. I'm just gonna tap it a little bit more. Yeah, like that. Make sure that locking piece is facing up, and the white line is pointing to the O. And now I'm ready to put in the gas tube. Now the gas tube has this dust piece. Now make sure that that hole, if you want the charging handle on the left side, you want that obviously on the left side. Make sure you put that in and slide it in. Let me slide that in without the dust piece. And it's not going to be that easy. Okay, now it's all the way back. Now remember, the dust piece goes next. Like that, it goes in like that. Okay, and then after that, the barrel just slides in. If you put this exactly dead center, then you should have no problem sliding the barrel down. But before I do that, I want to point out a couple of things. This is a plastic piece, okay? There is an opening in the bottom, this plastic piece. This plastic opening goes to the bottom, and this is the charging handle stop, and this charging handle pivots. This can be removed, and the way to remove it is to drive this pin out, okay, and you just drive it back in. Of course, this is the gas system, and this is where the barrel locking lug gets in position. Okay, so very simple. This just goes in next, and it just should. Actually, what I should do is put this locking pin in first, make sure it's, and then this just slides down. That's it. If it has difficulty sliding down, then you need to center this locking barrel locking lug. Now you have to lock it in place. Now I need to move this from the O to an L, and to do that, make sure that this is nice and tight, that you have it. And then here it is. I'm going to turn it. And now you see it's up here. Now I need to move it to the L position. Okay, it's actually slid out a little further. Now I need to push this back in a bit. This is why I'm not particularly crazy about this system. Because that moves, and it makes, if you have difficulty turning that, it's only because this thing has moved a bit. Okay, so now I'm pushing it back in. Okay, I managed to turn that to the L position, and this piece locks in place. And so the next thing is put the charging handle down that hole in the desk cover, as I mentioned earlier. You gotta look for it. I actually need a flashlight to do that. I can't see it from here, so I need to get a oh, there it is. Get one down, and then put it down this this place. It's a little tricky. Yeah, it goes in there, and there it is. Now turn this back, and then make sure the point of this charging handle goes into the recess, that hole, and then lock it in place like that. So it's all good. Okay. Yep. Make sure there's not a lot of gap in between the gas block here, part of the gas block, and the gas tube. There should just be able to be enough space just for that dust cover. Alright, so we got that done, and now I'm locked in L, and this piece is now locked in. Okay, the next thing that goes in is this piece. This is actually made out of steel. There's not too many pieces made out of steel. So it goes in like this. Okay, this, what it does, it retains the gas tube. So you got to put that in first, and then this pin, the pin with the hole at the end, that goes in next. Now you just can't put it in any way you want, because on the end of the pin is flattened, both sides, and they go horizontal. So you got to make sure it's actually fits. So, and it's not exactly in, so I got to turn it to make sure it falls into that slot. And then I want to make sure it stays in that slot, otherwise it might pop out and then it would turn. Then you take this piece, it goes on the inside, and you screw it in. All this is doing is holding the pin into that special slot, which does not allow it to turn. Okay, now just make sure it's a little snug, and then you turn this to the hole, and then take the pin and then slide it through the hole like that. Now that piece holds the gas tube in. Okay, the next to go in is the top rail. Okay, and just sits on top of the gas system, and put in the washer, and then followed with the bolt. Use an Allen wrench. Okay, so that's basically it. Next, the handguard. This piece right here goes in. Now don't forget, this plastic piece points downwards. So make sure this is pointing downwards, otherwise you're not going to be able to get in properly. Okay, so make sure you are pointing this downwards. Yep, it is pointing downwards, and not quite there. It is. Got to push it down a bit. Now, make sure that this is down, And this is nice and flat. Now get that other hex screw, slide it right here, and start turning. Okay, that's not the right one. Okay. I'll tighten that later. Okay. So, okay, next. Now this piece comes through into this slot here. And that's how this, the grip, locks into it. So that's an additional lock, and you see this piece. It goes into the slot and locks this handguard from coming out. So you go like that. So it's important that you have that piece in there. And then I take the bolt, slide it in. Okay, now put the cover in. Put the screw in. Okay, that should be good. Okay, what's next? The grip, of course, these rail protectors, and press this switch here, and we'll just slide in. These are really neat. It protects your hand from this sharp edges of the rail, and you can just, if you just like the bottom piece, you can just leave the bottom piece and just remove the two side pieces, and here we go. We do the same thing for the side, and that fits perfectly. They're really well engineered, and they fit really well. So yeah, the tolerance is very tight. So there you go. That goes in. Now you can always put these swivel in, one on each side. Okay, and the next thing is the sear housing. Okay, there's a hammer sear housing. Okay, now slide it up. Do not push this in, otherwise you're going to be in trouble. And just drop this. You just drop this. Okay, take this, just drop it in with the long pieces facing forward, and of course like that, like that. Okay, so good. Now that's in. Lastly, the bolt goes in. That, just point it in and just slide it in. Okay, like that. And then push the pin in. Now let's check to make sure everything works. The gun is empty. When it fires, let me put it to safe. Good. Everything works. And let me, that's good. Let me put the magazine in and make sure that everything works. Okay. When you see this, the BHO down, you know your bolt is back, that the magazine has engaged with the BHO. Okay. And simply to release it, you press this. That's it. And of course, everything works. There you have it. Thank you for joining me, and please subscribe.